Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Thomas Jefferson said, "If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done." Benjamin Franklin said, "Without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning." Basically, get off your duff, get to working, you've got dreams, you've got goals, you've got to do what it takes to get them. Like, subscribe, comment, show what your opinion is. Let me know if you like what you've seen. And I thank you for your support. So, we have two presidential candidates that are the only two that are actually valid. There is a third, and no, not the Libertarian candidate, but Robert Kennedy, who has a small chance to get some votes compared to everybody else. But Biden is 81 and senile. Don't argue with it. If you're going to try to argue that he's not senile, I feel for you. It makes me wonder and others wonder, including people in the Democrat Party, where in the world you are at right now. He's 81. He's senile. And he's got Kamala Harris for his VP. Then you've got Trump, who's 78. Eats like he's a 20-year-old. Seriously, the man does. He eats like a 20-year-old. He's not going to do that good over the next 4 years. He's going to have health scares. Don't think he isn't. And we don't even know who his vice presidential candidate is right now. He can announce at this point, and it would help a lot. But that's just it. We've currently got the two people who actually have a chance to win the election that you've got to consider for the first time that both of them are going to need a vice president who can step in. You don't have that right now with Trump because you don't know who his vice presidential candidate's going to be. But you've seriously got to consider who's going to be the vice president when you cast your vote. Not just the president. I mean, with Biden, you're already doing that. But Trump, it would be very smart to already do that. So let's talk about that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's discuss what in the world we're going to do with these two candidates. So, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. was born November 20th, 1942. He is 81 years old. He literally was born less than a year after the U.S. entered World War II. Think about that for a minute. Less than a year. I don't know if his father served, but his father could literally have considered whether he wanted to go to war, wanted to make sure that his name carried on, and gone to war to fight the Japanese, the Germans, or the Italians. Seriously. This is how old this man is. His cognitive function, don't tell me that his cognitive function is not horrible. So if he gets reelected, even if he doesn't pass away, you've got a situation like we had with Woodrow Wilson. And unfortunately I have to say this, but also with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan had Alzheimer's towards the end of his time in office. Woodrow Wilson suffered a stroke, and his wife basically ran the nation. And his vice president is Kamala Devi Harris, Devi, Devi. I'm honestly not trying to make fun of her name. I honestly don't know how to pronounce it. She was born October 20th, 1964. So, in other words, she's 59 years old, which is not that old compared to some of the presidents we've had. You already know their politics. I don't have to go into the politics. Seriously, you don't. But you know what she would do as president if something happened to Biden. And on top of the fact of, and if he does suffer major cognitive dysfunction, how does that place the 25th Amendment? The 25th Amendment states that the vice president becomes president of the U.S. should incumbent president die or resign the office or has been deposed through impeachment, establishes how a vacancy in the office of vice president can be filled, and provides transfer of presidential powers and duties to the vice president, either on the president's initiative or the initiative of the vice president and majority of the cabinet. So he would have to either have a declaration of inability, or Harris and a majority of the cabinet members have to decide. Do you think they would? I mean, this is the situation that we're looking at. Biden and his crew are already saying that he's not going to step down. So what are we going to do in that case? Seriously. Even if you're a Democrat, don't tell me you can't see there's a problem with him. This is what you've got to consider. And when Kamala Harris ran for president 4 years ago, y'all as Democrats barely even recognized that she was running. And you would want her to be the president? When you barely wanted her, where barely any of y'all wanted her to be president? There's just something wrong with that picture. So, that's one of our candidates. So, Donald John Trump was born June 14th, 1946. So basically, even though it didn't happen, his father could have come back from World War II and gone, hey, I'm interested in continuing my line. And June 14th, 1946, he's 78 years old. Think about that. He's only 3 years younger than Biden. So, like I've said, he eats like a 20-year-old. Everybody's aware of that. I mean, there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but still, that can't be good for his health. He's not decided on who his vice presidential candidate's going to be. We know it's not going to be Mike Pence. And this has to be a major consideration by Republicans. Think about that. What happens when you're in your late 70s, early 80s? You have health issues. Being the president is not a stressless job. It's a very stressful job. People age quickly as president. If he gets elected, you're having to worry that he is going to have all of those problems that somebody who is that age is going to have. He could do good, but still, you have that problem. We need to know who is going to be the vice president. We need to know that that person can carry out the job. It's not even a joke in any way, shape, or form. The man could literally pass away. He's one of the oldest people up there next to Biden. We don't know. Seriously, we don't know what could happen to him. So, we've got to consider that whoever is running with him has a very good chance, of being the next president. We need to keep that in mind when we're voting for him. And he needs to put somebody in that can take the job. But let's look at the next person. So the third person who's actually got a chance at getting votes that are actually worth something is Robert Kennedy Jr., Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. He was born January 17th, 1954, age 70. By the time that he went off to college, now mind you, he went to Harvard, London School of Economics, University of Virginia for his law degree, and Pace University for something else dealing with his law degree. By the time that he went off to Harvard, this man had already taken part in family matters that were two presidential candidates, two different presidents, two different people that ran. It was pretty much a given back in the day that his father was going to be president. His uncle was president. This man knows presidential material. Seriously, this man knows what it takes to be president. He knows what it takes to win the presidency. But he's still 70. He's still got the same problem that Biden and Trump have. But we already know who he selected to be his vice president. Her name is Nicole Ann Shanahan. She was born September 26, 1985. One of her husbands was one of the founders of then Google, now Alphabet. She's unknown to most people, but she is pretty accomplished. She's a lawyer, patent specialist. She's accomplished, and she's young, vibrant. And I mean, I'm sure that there are people that can find things that are wrong with her. But that's just it. Kennedy has the Kennedy name. Robert Francis Kennedy Sr. was an amazing person to a lot of people. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was amazing to a lot of people. And there are a lot of people that remember or know all about it. He's married to Cheryl Hines, a big-time actress that people recognize. And he's got a vibrant person running beside him. Think about that for a second. These two have a lot of energy, come across a lot better than Biden and Trump when it comes to that. I mean, Trump does seem to have a lot of energy, but you still have to think he's 8 years older and, he's Trump. So Kennedy's got a good chance of being considered by a lot of people. Not to mention that for the conservative MAGA folks that, well, not the MAGA folks, but the not MAGA folks, they might consider him because, hey, he was anti-vaccine, like a lot of people. He has a lot of people complaining about his stance on COVID-19. He's written books on Anthony Fauci. He wrote a book literally called The Real Anthony Fauci, and it was not a popular book for the liberals. So, this is the other person that could stand a chance of getting decent votes. And I just thought I'd throw that information in there for you. These are the three men that could be our next president. I don't really think Kennedy's got a chance, except for the fact of that people in this country are getting fed up with so much. And that picture of Camelot will come to them. The fact that he's picked a young, energetic person in case something goes wrong with him that has connections that can bring him lots of money. Seriously, Biden is just not a good candidate. So if he stays on the ticket, they've got a major problem with the Democrat Party. So that could swing votes towards Kennedy. Trump has a very good chance of winning again. But there are people within the Republican Party who are not fans of his. And that could go towards Kennedy. Because nobody wants to really vote for Biden. They're voting against. You listen to people, and they're not voting for Biden. They're voting against Trump most of the time. But this is something to consider. Because a vice presidential candidate actually means a lot in this election. I want y'all to think about that. Because there's a lot. There is a lot that people need to consider. This is just my 2 cents, though. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now, and just have some consideration on this topic.